A Journey in Agility: How to Successfully Execute an Enterprise Agile Transformation. Animation by Jack Wendell. Audio by Jack Wendell. A successful approach to an Agile journey is broken up into two major phases. The first one is a strategic phase. The second one, a tactical phase. The first and most critical step in the strategic phase is to get to know the client. Once you know the client and their needs, you can envision the end state. When you envision that end state, be sure to think big so that you don't limit the possibilities. In the tactical phase, you want to start small. Typically, this consists of creating a pilot team with a hand-selected group of people and a project with a high likelihood of success. Once this has been executed, you want to leverage that success by creating yet more and more teams. The intent is to scale fast so that the organization can see the value that Agile can provide. Now that we understand the big picture, it's time to actually execute. So the first part of this is day zero, or the discovery phase. And the goal here is to listen and learn. So the first step is learn about the client. Every Agile journey is different. So while there are some similarities, you need to understand what's different about this client and what's to success in their journey. Next, we need to engage the right roles. This not only includes senior leadership, but it includes everyone throughout the entire organization. So the transformation needs to be not only a top-down, but a bottom-up transformation to get buy-in from the whole organization. Throughout this process, we need to listen for the need of the client. They're bringing us in to help them overcome some pain points or some challenges that they're having. So in order to help them to solve those, we need to completely understand what is their perceived need. In every organization, there are people that are passionate about this change, what it will do for the organization, how they can help to get there. So what we need to do is we need to understand that passion. We need to find those people, understand and embrace the change that they seek. Often clients do not fully understand what can be achieved through their Agile journey. It is our job to introduce the possible, to create a clear vision, paint a picture, and establish in their minds a mental model of what life will be like in their new organization. Now that we have learned about and understand the client, it is time to present what we have learned. But it's not yet time to recommend a solution. We're still in the discovery phase. It's time to let the client understand everything learned so far and to develop what they feel is the best approach for them. If you understand Agile, you should see the parallel between the OODA loop and this approach. The OODA loop is observe, orient, decide, and act. Now is the time to act. Test the waters. Try various approaches as small experiments. Observe the results, learn, and try again. It only makes sense to approach the Agile transformation in an Agile way. Before we move on, there's still one remaining step. We must have data if we're going to see the impact of our changes. Now is the time to look into the organization for any existing indicators of performance. Use the measurement of these indicators as a baseline. Periodically record these throughout the journey and use the improvements as indication of success. Now that we've spent time understanding the client, we need to validate our ability to help. Do we have the right people and resources to help the client achieve their goals? A big part of the validation process is to establish the intent. Undertaking an Agile journey represents a significant investment. Because of this, we need to understand what does the client see as their end goal. At this point, we need to integrate into the environment. We need to have everyone to feel like we're one team working for one goal to create a positive outcome for the entire organization. At the root of it all, an agile transformation represents an organizational change. As such, we need to help the client to enable their environment for a change. This means that we need people that are not only experts in agile organizations, but in organizational change as well. Now is the time to introduce the approach as a high-level description. One reason to do this is to take the pulse of the organization, find out who the strong supporters are, and ensure that we have their help and assistance throughout this agile journey. Throughout this transformation, we need to document what we're doing, and this comes in the form of the 3 guides of transformation. They are the Product Execution Guide, the Transformation Guide, and the Growth and Learning Guide. We will discuss each of these in more detail a little bit later. Now that we've completed the listen and learn phase, it's time to move on and think big. In order to do that, we need to identify the success environment. This success environment consists of 2 major phases. We need to clearly identify the purpose, and we need to create a definition of success. When we define the purpose, we need to gather inputs from the ecosystem, understand the big picture, map the scope of influence, and clearly articulate the scaling vision. When we create our definition of success, we need to identify the problems to solve, identify potential initiatives, and clearly identify and articulate expected outcomes. In order to think big, we must first define what we mean by big. In doing that, we need to define the North Star. The North Star must create a compelling vision, and it must focus on business value. Next, we need to define our objectives and outcomes. There will be many objectives, and each objective can have multiple outcomes. It must be understood that the intent is not to set these in stone. This is a list that can be added to or subtracted from as we learn more in our journey towards agility. Now it is finally time to start transitioning from our strategic approach to our tactical approach. The key to success is to start small. While we spent time developing our North Star, that's too much to tackle at one shot. So what we need to do is break off a piece of that North Star and start there. Now is the time to gather everything needed to create an environment for success. An agile transformation simply cannot be successful without accountable leaders. Back in our strategic phase, we identified the people in the organization that were promoters for this agile transformation. Now's the time to gather those people, both from the business side and from the technology side, and have those leaders spearhead our effort and ensure that we have the people, the resources, and the support we need for success. As we gather the leaders for this effort, we must ensure we're getting support from the highest level of leadership possible. Developing a close working relationship between the leaders and those executing the work is crucial to the ultimate success in the agile transformation. It is the job of the leaders to continually reinforce the vision created during the strategic phase. It is the job of the tribes and the squads to continually raise the agile maturity of the organization. There are 3 cultural norms that must be embraced in an agile environment. These are execution support, shared responsibility, and shared accountability for all outcomes across the entire organization. We previously mentioned the 3 guides to agile transformation. Now is the time to start creating those guides. The first of these guides is the Product Execution Guide. It consists of a prioritized list of the products. One major benefit is that it creates a sense of urgency in the organization. The next guide is a transformation guide. It is based on the values, principles, and beliefs of the organization. The transformation guide describes how the organization is able to be successful in their Agile journey. It includes such things as the support system, the accounting system, the roles and responsibilities, the training, and coaching approaches required to be successful. Finally, we get to the growth and learning guide. This guide documents our minimum viable experiments, or MVEs. It also includes the metrics we've been recording, such as leading, operational, and lagging indicators. The intent of this guide is to document the experiments we've run and the results of those experiments throughout our Agile transformation. Each of these three guides contains its own backlog. The knowledge gained in the development of the Growth and Learning Guide feeds into the backlog of the Transformation Guide. That same knowledge also feeds into the backlog of the Product Execution Guide. Because all three of these are living documents, the knowledge gained feeds into the backlog of the other documents, creating a growing body of knowledge that can be used in advancing the Agile transformation. Now comes the time to build on our success. We've already shown how to create a successful squad, so now we simply duplicate that process and create yet another squad. From here, we leverage the knowledge gained from our three guides, rinse and repeat, and create a third successful squad. Now that we've created our three successful squads, it's time to create an environment for organizational success. Our cultural norms of execution support, shared responsibility, and shared accountability need to be spread across the entire organization. In addition, we need to start creating Centers of Excellence, or COEs. These centers leverage the knowledge and experience gathered to date and lead others down their path to Agile success. Finally, we need to start creating communities of practice, or COPs. These are groups of people that have common interests and common practices and want to exchange their knowledge and experiences with other people in the organization. Once we have a sufficient number of squads in place, we want to combine those squads into what is known as a tribe. Each tribe will work together to create a solution for the organization. We can now take the knowledge that we've gained in creating the Product Execution Guide and create more tribes. These tribes will combine together to create even more solutions for the organization. We can repeat this process to create tribes across the entire organization. We can now leverage the Transformation Guide to ensure that we have the roles, the backlogs, and the cadence in place. All of these are critical for scaling. Finally, we can utilize the Growth and Learning Guide. This contains the MVE results and metrics, including our leading, operational, and lagging indicators. These can be used to gauge our progress as we continue on our Agile journey. And that's it. We've completed our journey in agility. We've explained how to successfully execute an enterprise Agile transformation. We've gone from an initial state to a transformed state. I hope you found this information useful, and I wish you well on your journey towards agility. Wait, you're still here? Are you looking for even more information? All right, but let me warn you, this will be controversial. Why? Because it explains why the typical approach to Agile transformation is wrong. The typical Agile approach consists of 3 steps. First, create a pilot project. Next, gather a hand-selected group to form a team. And finally, start doing Agile. So, if this approach is so typical, why is it wrong? Well, there are several reasons. First, it jumps straight into the tactical phase. And of course, by doing that, it completely skips the strategic phase. It also makes some basic assumptions. One, all clients are the same. And secondly, Agile transformations are simply cookie cutters developed from prior clients. Finally, the end result is typically that of doing Agile instead of being Agile. Now, you have to understand it's not entirely the fault of the consultant. Often they get pressure from clients to deliver results. The typical strategic plan can easily take 6 months or more. That entire time, the client sponsor and the boss of the client sponsor are asking questions like, "Still working on that Agile thing? How's that Agile thing going? When will that Agile thing be done?" During that time, with the strategy first approach, the answer is going to be, well, they're developing the strategy. With the traditional approach, they can answer, we have 5 squads up and running, or 2 squads have already delivered working software, or we're delivering our first release. Which answer would you rather give? So, what is the right approach? Well, the ideal approach is to develop the strategy first, as we previously discussed in detail. What if external constraints prevent this? We can use instead a dual approach. First, start with an initial high-level strategy phase. Next, launch an Agile pilot project and team. And finally, follow that closely with a small team working on the full strategic approach and run that in parallel. Now, you're really ready to start your journey. You know where you're going and the options to get you there. Always keep these things in mind. Understand the intent, focus on maximizing business value, and most of all, strive to be Agile instead of just doing Agile.